So today, I have this Jubilee video about the black conservatives versus white liberals, and I watched it a little bit already, and I kind of have some things I wanted to talk about. I haven't watched it all the way through, so obviously I'm going to be getting to some parts that, I want to talk about, but man, I don't even know what to say. I wanted to talk about a lot of stuff like this, so I'm just going to kind of give my input. I don't really care about politics myself. All I care about is if something is making logical sense.
I was chosen to read the following prompt. White Americans have way more advantages than black Americans.
I think I'm a rarity here.
Facts.
It would seem so.
Do white Americans have more advantages because they're white? Or do just white Americans have advantages because of historic factors? I think that people want to argue at the end of the day over whether it's because you're white or not. I think that the answer is because you're white in the past, and that's how it kind of carries over to today. Even in times of the United States history where black people tried to build wealth, with the Tulsa riots and everything, where this wealth has been destroyed. And something that's upsetting to me is when conservatives talk about how we can't blame the past for what's happening in the present. That is true to some extent, but then the next breath they'll talk about how important it is to have dual parent households, how important it is to have a strong family, to have responsibility passed on from parent to child. And we've seen in the past that because of racial...
Also, the fact that Destiny is here, I mean, this dude's going to pretty much tear it up. Like, Destiny knows his shit.
Issues, that process has been severely disrupted.
The funny thing is that agreeing with all these things is when I did my research when I was younger, which arrived me to my standpoint of being a conservative, because I believed it was racist, Democrat, liberal ideologies and policies dating all the way back to the 1800s, all the way up to the 1960s, and then the purported big switch. But I think it was more so when Democrats decided to be a bit more cloak and dagger about their true opinions of black people and be more...
There's something about this guy
that date back centuries that were built off of the death and poverty of my people.
Let's take a breath.
Sure. So, I'm breathing.
Okay.
So a lot of babies aren't, but I am, sadly.
I don't know what that means. When I say throw the baby out with the bathwater, you want to completely get rid of welfare. Okay, or at least I don't want to put that on you, you haven't said that, but the conservative apparatus does, clearly. So giving money to a group of people does not hurt them.
I mean, sure, you're talking about a lottery, you just take money, but
yes.
there are strings attached to that money.
Take all the money.
There are strings attached to that money.
Give them millions. Make them all millionaires, I don't care. Giving money to black people does not hurt them.
And that has not happened, though. That has not happened.
What do you mean?
That has not happened.
It
hasn't been a reparation. It hasn't been this or that. It has been a welfare program, Prince Societies Act that was built off of the idea of, hey, we get these families split up, we get these people living here.
So then let them keep the family together and keep all the money.
I mean, I guess so, but I guarantee you
there's no way that why would you not advocate for that?
So in your, research of history of this country and everything, do you find the Reconstruction era and the failures of what it wanted to be and then what it ended up being, and then which led into had downstream effects to enter into the Jim Crow era, and you have policies like redlining that influence how schools are funded. The downstream effects of slavery, do you think put black people as generally in a worse off position than white Americans?
I think generation by generation, the effects of slavery have been diluted, but generation by generation, the effects of racism, welfare-based policies, and things of that nature became even more.
How does it become diluted? Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of things that we could take advantage of, like, it was affirmative action. My family doesn't have anything. We never had anything too much. I'm not saying, we're not grateful for what we had. I'm just saying, we didn't have an actual home that that was ours, anything that happened in our home, detrimental to any of our things. I think our heat went out, our heater, because our basement flooded. With that being the case, why didn't she have more? And this was a lady who worked 2 jobs. Slavery didn't just fade out. The effects of slavery doesn't dilute. It's not fucking cleaner, nigga. It's literally atrocities that happen. And how would you consider something like that to dilute out? You know what I mean? When there have still been, like you said, the Tulsa riots, the fucking Second Part. How can you say it's gone when people still do shit on the basis of race to this day?
So personally, I feel like there's really only one thing that white people have a true advantage over black people with, and it's that white people are less likely to be forced into a box. It happens with black people onto other black people, but it especially happens with white liberals onto black conservatives, where we are told that we are supposed to think a certain way, be a certain way, and if we're not, then we're called all these names like etc. And the worst of all is bootlicker, because I hate when a white liberal tells me as a black man that I'm a bootlicker, because then I ask, whose boot am I licking? Because you're telling me as a white person that me as a black person that I'm licking your boot because I don't think in this box that you want me to frame my mentality in. That to me is real racism, and that's what we need to stop allowing to happen to us, because black people are so quick now to not branch out and
I don't think
ways of thinking, or to go into careers like agriculture and these other career paths that black people don't tip.
I think, okay, so to kind of comment on this, I don't think you're a bootlicker if you have conservative ideals. You actually have your ideals because of your community. However, I do think it is very coon mentality for you to go against something that beneficially helps the people of your skin color, even if you don't see race involved, especially if you already know the atrocities that happened in the past. While you may come from a suburban area where everyone's living good, people in the hood are still suffering, you know, with lack of work, lack of nutrition, lack of all that stuff. And then it's also weird that you would look upon them and essentially judge them as if they're lazy or they're this, that, and the third. That's not the case. It's still the effects of slavery all the way till today. Like I said, it doesn't just go away. People still have to build wealth. My people were trying to get it. The people before them were trying to get it. The people, and then shit just keeps happening that's bad, that takes away from us instead of helping us. But black conservatives look at it as it must be the people's fault themselves. They don't care about race, which is fine. But it doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist anymore. It still exists. It just doesn't affect you at the moment. Racism is racism, and it will still affect us in any form it can. So redlining, they've talked about redlining. They've talked about, the sake of the atrocities that happened. I mean, there's just these things still affect us to this day, but black conservatives turn their backs on them and turn their backs on the people in the hood instead of sympathizing with them and saying, wow, I understand that shit sucks. Hope you get out of it, or help you get out of it in some form or fashion. They just go, I work hard and this is where I got to because I work. No, you didn't. Your people worked hard and somehow didn't get clapped or didn't get trapped up in the issue, whatever was happening back in the day, from crack to fucking, just abject poverty. Your people made it out somehow. You didn't. Your people did, and you're just working as a byproduct of that. So therefore, it's coon mentality to, like I said, turn your back on your people when equally you could have been in the exact same position as them. Your people went through the exact same issue their people went through. You just dodged bullets and got lucky in order to get to a symbol of status of where you are, while the other ones, they didn't, and they're still stuck in wherever they are. So instead of constantly judging them for their actions or whatever, why not sit there and look and ask why? Help them out and figure out a way to lift them out of their situation. Conservatism is not knowing what struggle is. That's literally all conservatism is. If you're conservative, you just don't see the struggle, you're not in the struggle, or you don't care about the struggle.
Get into, it's not because of racism stopping them from getting in there. It's because we're told for so long that you have to follow this path and you have to think a certain way.
I think America is a great place for a black person. I think I'm an American. Anything that's available to you is available to me and mine.
If you have money. And that's the issue. Once again, it's all capitalism. It's all money. It's all propagated. None of that matters. As long as you have money, you can, yes, get anything and do anything you want. That's fine. You're absolutely right. However, if you have money, and once again, a lot of black people don't have money. So that equates to what?
I've personally never experienced white people having way more privileges than me. Like, I'm sure you could find certain institutions where...
You personally never experienced it. I'm just going to go ahead and just tell you, ma'am, it's because you look white. You look white and you talk white. And I know that sounds horrible, especially about the talk white part. You're too light to obviously be black like me. So people probably overlook that. And then you're also too, your tone is very white, so you probably don't get a lot of flack, which is also another issue with colorism. So that's, you just look like a seasoned white person. Well, I know I shouldn't be saying talk white because that's pretty, biased and horrible, but let's be real here. Colorism does exist. It's the reason why Rwanda had its genocide happen, right? Is obviously the lighter skinned Africans got better treatment than the darker skinned one.
Black people are treated differently, but in general, I don't think that I've missed out on anything because of being black. And if anything,
community.
It's given me more of a voice because people will want to.
Also, if your community, you come from a community that is non-focused on that, then obviously you're going to miss a lot of it. Think of it more like if you've never understood a scam. You know what I mean? Like if you've never seen 3-Card Monte. For those who don't understand, it's a game that's the little card game where you got the 3 cards and you got to find the shell underneath one of the 3 cards. 3-Card Monte. And if you get it right, you get money. Cool. Obviously it's a trick because the shell's in the hand and you could throw it underneath any card. Anyway, the point is, if you've never seen that, how do you know it's a scam? You might just think it's some street game. So if you never knew it existed in the first place, how do you identify it?
Hear what I say now because I'm black. So if anything, I have more of a platform now just on the basis of being a black conservative and saying what's not popular.
Do you see what I'm saying though? So you have an advantage because you're a niche thing. You know, for the conservative people, finally some black people with some common sense is how they're going to look at it. You know what I mean? And then you're going to think the liberals are the horrible ones. Like, do you not see that? And also, not only that, the fact that a black conservative stands out more than any liberal. Crazy. Liberal can literally be anyone, but when you're a conservative, you're a black conservative and you stick out. This is actually a counterpoint now that I think about it. More so that think about why Tiger Woods stuck out in golf. There's not enough black people or not enough people of color in any of these, being conservative or golf. So obviously it sticks out. Bubba in NASCAR, you know what I mean? There's not enough diversity in these places. Therefore, that's why you will stick out. But that's the issue now, isn't it? The reason why white people have more advantages. They just get to do whatever they want. And when you finally get into a place where they usually dominate, you stick out.
I agree with the Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action.
I'm not going to start. Someone else can start. Sorry.
I think affirmative action has served its purpose. I think that it was necessary for a particular time. And I think that every black person knows how to get into college. You could pull out the name.
It had nothing to do with getting into college. I think it had to do with getting into a certain college. Like if those who wanted to get into Harvard, they might have needed, because they didn't have enough funds. Affirmative action was there to help them, which, by the way, I don't think you should go to Harvard. Harvard isn't any better education than any other school. It's just prestigious because of money being thrown into it. And I don't know why I quoted money. Money is the thing that I say it's prestigious. The prestigious was a quote, my bad. And then money being thrown into it because of, rich white people. Like, it's already been a paper, by the way, that's been published that if you didn't have affirmative action, there was already essentially affirmative action for rich white people to get in.
The Oprah, President Obama. You can pull out the head of Time Warner was black man. The Forbes was black man. We know what to do now. We don't need affirmative action anymore. And to me, affirmative action is offensive sometimes, especially nowadays, because I have 6 children and 2 boys, 4 girls.
No one cares.
And all of them went to Harvard and Columbia and this one and that one. And it breaks my heart to think that they accomplished that goal of getting into these institutions just because of the color of their skin.
But white people can do it. White people do it. So what's wrong with you doing it? Like I already said, it's literally proven.
Definitely say that it creates a lot of tension when you have affirmative action. I remember my first week at the University of Illinois, I was sitting with some classmates and a white student turned to me and jokingly like, "Hey Xavier, like, did you just attach a smiley face when you applied for this college?" And I started asking what he meant. And he said to me that he was like, "You're black. I'm assuming you had decent grades. You could have just attached a smiley face and you would have gotten into the university." So I was livid by that and I went off. I started naming all of my accomplishments and I felt so confident.
The conservative villain backstory, the origin story. I had everything in my life that was great. And then someone said, "Hey, you didn't deserve this spot." It really hurt my feelings. So now I question myself. Like, I get that you could feel hurt that way. I'm not going to necessarily minimize your feelings, but it just sounds so minuscule compared to actual big world event. Like, really? Conservative or affirmative action makes you feel less than, or like rather you didn't deserve it? Why do you feel like you need to earn the spot, to work to earn the spot? Why what is wrong with free rides? Nigga, if someone was giving out a free ice cream cone, you wouldn't be like, "Hey, yo, what's in the ice cream cone? Is it cheap? No, nigga, you would probably just take it. I don't get it. I don't get where we get off thinking free is bad. It's such a weird capitalistic way of thinking. And don't get me wrong, there are some things where free can be bad. Like if you get a mattress from a bed bug infested house, I get it. But at the same time, I mean, a free college ride? Like, What the fuck is wrong with that?
Only for about an hour, because then an hour later I started saying to myself, like, wow, like, did I actually earn my way in here? I started to have this insecurity, and I started wondering to myself, did I earn this position myself, or did my ancestors' suffering earn this for me?
Why did your ancestors suffer? What is wrong with essentially getting reparations from your ancestors' suffering? Literally, what is the issue with free? Should your ancestors have suffered, stupid? If the answer is no, then what was their way of getting paid back? Oh, they got their freedom, is how conservatives look at it. They got their freedom so they could work hard for everything they wanted. Nigga, they already worked. Oh, stupid. Fucking stupid. They already worked hard. That was literally the point. They were working hard with like minimal anything. And then all of a sudden now you get a free ride and you're like, why do I have to get it for free? Stupid. Just take the free ride.
And too, I've seen it in the sense of like affirmative action taking away from other people who are minorities. Like I had a friend who was Asian and he in high school and he really wanted to go to MIT. That was his dream school. He interned there. He was super like prepared to go there and he didn't get in. And you can only assume that it was because of affirmative action.
Well, then, I mean, if we're assuming, making an ass of you and myself, then I can also assume maybe your friend just didn't have the credentials. Shouldn't merit put him above the affirmative action? I don't understand the correlation. Please help me. I don't get it. Like, if your friend was good, he should have superseded affirmative action, but I guess he wasn't. So,
because they have such a large Asian population that they want to admit other people.
Yeah, I was going to actually argue that it's more racist nowadays because it excludes so many Asian Americans from getting into universities who do deserve a spot and they can't get in because of
Asian Americans were getting into colleges just fine. They're like literally on the. Do you want me to like do a quick Google search? I mean, I could do a quick search of college admission by race. Oh boy! Wow, y'all ready for this one? Okay. College enrollment rate in 2019 was higher for 18 to 24-year-olds who were Asian at 62% than those who were of two or more races, 47%, white, 41%, black, 37%, Hispanic, 36%, and American Indian, Native American, 24%. So that means there was a slew of Asian people, which you've already said. Then yeah, they were trying to diversify that. There's nothing wrong with that. Show me what am I missing here? That means there was literally a bunch of Asian people getting in. I do feel sorry that your friend didn't get in, but you mean it would be like sending one white guy to an HBCU? You know what I mean? Yeah. We need more of those. Like, we need more white people in HBCUs. Maybe I'm being pessimistic about this, but I don't really see the issue with if someone wants to get into a predominantly Asian school and then your friend missed out because at least one person wanted to get in that's like black. You see what I'm saying? I don't get it. Now, granted, I will say affirmative action, I'm not necessarily like, I think we still need affirmative action to a certain degree, but not to the degree this way. I think we need it more so for the poor. You see what I'm saying? And that poor entails anyone, because fuck race alone. Like race, yes, there's a majority more of black people, but if you just say poor, then black people will still be included, but also people who are white, Hispanic, Native American, like all those people will be included as well.
Affirmative action, which again, like you were saying, was necessary at the time. Yeah. But now it's like anybody, if you have the skills to do it and you're in America, you can get in.
I don't think affirmative action is the worst thing, considering all the different types or aspects of a background you might take into account when somebody's getting into college, whether they were in certain clubs, Boy Scouts, what type of classes they took, that might not be available to everybody. I don't think that factoring in the affirmative action is necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like because of everything you guys have said, the optics behind it are so horrible today that even if it is slightly beneficial in the long run for certain people, I think we can probably refocus most of that into figuring out like the class that people come from, the neighborhoods, the backgrounds or whatever, without it having to necessarily target race. The only thing that I kind of wonder now that it's gone is instead of a black person being in school thinking like, man, am I here because I'm an affirmative action pick, is it going to be a kid that is poor or a kid that's from a different zip code?
I think we should do away with all of it. It's just like submit an application, no demographics. Why do they ask your sexuality? Like, why do they ask all that stuff?
If affirmative action accomplished its purpose, why do we still see the disparities that we do in the professional workplace? If you average white wealth and compare it to black wealth totals, white people as a whole have about 50 times greater wealth than black people as a whole, per capita. So I just don't understand why you think affirmative action has accomplished its purpose. I don't see that.
Curious, why do you assume that just because there is a disparity means it's because of a racial issue?
It is.
What else would it be from?
I mean,
upbringing, economic abilities,
desire
skills.
to go, desire to.
I mean,
So
zip
it was
code
their
does
fault.
play a lot. If you grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma, you're not as likely to do as well in school, which means you're.
Why did they grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma?
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
lots of people do.
Yes, but why specifically do more black
Or
people?
blacks do, yeah.
Government assistance programs.
Government assistance programs, like what?
Try redlining.
I mean, you can go into that if you'd like to, but let's take a
is
look
relevant.
at
Something I think that this conversation illustrates is that like affirmative action is literally the very end of the line of a lot of different parts of a person's life. And by that point, trying to rectify all of the inequities that have existed, to try to remedy any of that at the very end with affirmative action, it might just be too broad a brush. And maybe we'd be better served focusing on the earlier issues than trying to throw a kid who maybe, can barely read at a 6th grade level into a college to hope that that's the thing that fixes the problem at the end of the line.
I think affirmative action wasn't really supposed to like send kids to Harvard that weren't prepared to go to Harvard. I think that's quite a myth, in fact. I think those that have the qualities to get to Harvard were before affirmative action were just completely overlooked. Clarence Thomas is like the perfect example.
What started out as a good program of giving all black people or people with a lesser chance or lesser opportunity, it started out as that, and then it morphed, and I'm not sure who morphed it, but it morphed into, okay, so now we have to have one black, one Hispanic, one this, one that.
That's not how that works.
But hey, talk to the corporations, talk to the people who hire, talk to the board members who say we need to have a woman on the board, we need to have a black on the board, we need to have a Latina, a Latinx, whatever, on the board. So it morphed from helping us into now
tokenization.
Yes. So you have to have one of this, one of that.
Diversity hire.
Well, when you start with a country where people only hire you if you're white, that's necessary. And I know that you said that it started good and then ended whatever. And I don't think that affirmative action was perfect by any measure, but we still see really, really bad inequality. So if you're going to get rid of affirmative action, what's the replacement?
Meritocracy.
Is people need to.
There's no meritocracy in
Yes,
this
there
country. You look at Elon Musk, he's destroying Twitter. There's no meritocracy. That's ridiculous.
Well, first thing I want to bounce back to is it's not a myth that there are like minorities that are being put into colleges that they're not ready for. If you look at a lot of these top universities, including Harvard, Yale, etc., you're going to see a lot of minorities on academic probation because they are being placed in universities that they are not ready for. They are not cut out for that just yet. And it even just makes sense if you look at.
So this is what I don't understand because I never had affirmative action. Is the affirmative action literally coming and picking you up and then placing you into a place like Harvard? Or is it you picking your place? Because if you're picking your place, then yeah, maybe you realize you're not cut to Harvard, but to have the chance to even go was never even an opportunity in your world. You see what I'm saying? So to give it a chance, to give it the best chance you can give it, that's not a bad thing to do. I think you're looking at it a wrong way. I think they're looking at it the way of if you go to Harvard, you should be well prepared and this, that, and the third. They don't know. You know what I mean? They don't know what it entails. I don't know what prepared in Harvard, entails. These niggas could be giving out, hey, do 60-page essays. You got me fucked up. I'm not doing no goddamn 60-page essays. I'm not doing a 2-page essay, nigga. I'm just not cut out for that type of shit. And by the way, it is unnecessary to do a 60-page essay by yourself, by the way, too, because no regular human being is doing a 60-page essay on their own. It's usually composed of a bunch of things comprised of like a team of writers. Is taking a chance a bad thing now? I thought, conservatives were risk takers.
How much they have to achieve in order to get there. Okay. Asian students on average have to score 450 points higher than a black student in order.
Why? That has nothing to do with black people in general. That black people didn't do that. Black people were like, hey, Asians, you have to test 450 points higher than us. You know who did that? America. Because they made Asians the ideal immigrant.
To get in the same university. So if you think of the universities that have courses, et cetera, that grade on a curve, you can only have so many people with an A, so many people with a B, et cetera. So that means that the bottom percentile is going to fail. Who is most likely, just based on logic, going to be the ones failing? It's going to be the people who didn't have the credentials to get there in the first place. And then I have to bounce back to.
I want to get you on that point, because I would posit that the people who are least likely to have good outcomes in an academic setting are those who have to work 2 jobs, are those who have to drive there from home because they can't afford a dorm, are those who have to go into crippling financial debt. These are and have other stresses in their life. They can't afford a doctor, they can't afford a dentist, they can't afford anything.
I had to do that too, though.
Those are the people.
That's not just black people. It's not just.
But it's overwhelmingly
numbers. There are more white people in poverty than black people.
If you look at the raw numbers, but if you actually understand what you're talking about.
The issue is poverty in general, though. I don't think.
No. See, no, this is literally a issue with black people being more in poverty than any other race.
It's like, who's in poverty? It's like, poverty sucks.
Maybe we should make college free. And maybe we want to have affirmative action wouldn't be that necessary.
And it'll get even more ghetto.
If you have a program that says if you are under a certain income level,
it will get more ghetto.
What do you mean by that?
What do you want people to do then? So then you don't want people to go to college is what I'm hearing. I don't get it. What you just said in that stupid little joke is essentially we should have colleges to essentially safety net and keep colleges non-ghetto is what you said. Which, by the way, whatever your definition of ghetto is, sure. Ridiculous. Disgusting people. The conservatives are.
Well, this is how we'll help you. That will overwhelmingly help black people at a far greater percentage than it will help white people.
It's true.
Trump supports Black lives.
Whoa.
I think that President Trump supports all lives. I think that he looks at all American citizens as equal. I don't see him doing anything that would make you feel like he does not support Black lives. That's, of course, going to lead into the conversation of Black Lives Matter, which was a movement and an organization with so much corruption. Donald Trump not supporting that organization.
Not a movement. The movement wasn't corrupt. The organization was corrupt. They're both not equal. You can have a movement without the organization being there. Stop putting two together. Yes, the movement came first, and then the organization came, and it was corrupt. Okay, don't do that.
And doesn't mean that he doesn't support Black lives. It just means that he doesn't support the fraudulent organization that's stealing so much money from so many people to do absolutely nothing with it. Nor does he support a destructive movement that is destroying cities, communities, lives.
No. Fuck all that. Why are cops killing people? Why are cops killing black people unnecessarily? Is that okay? No. Like, I don't think that, like I said, I don't think the riots should have necessarily happened. But people will build a business back, except for the small mom and pop shops. I think you guys are horrible for burning their places down. But burning a Wendy's, I don't give a shit. The corruption came with a lot of rogue people that fucked up the movement. Did you talk about the good people who were trying to stop people from raiding businesses? Exactly. You're not going to talk about those people, so fuck you, stupid.
Etc. So I don't see why someone would think that President Trump doesn't support Black lives.
I don't think Donald Trump wants bad things to happen to black people. So in that respect, I think he does support Black lives, but the other side of that is he's not really doing anything. He didn't do anything as president, certainly, to uplift black people.
The economy affects black people.
Yeah, I certainly disagree with that point. One of the biggest things I supported personally. Well, yeah, we'll get into that one later. One of the biggest things he did is he secured permanent funding for HBCUs, one of the largest increases we ever saw for HBCUs, personally done by his administration, among many other things. The First Step Act.
Yeah, you see, now you kind of get what I'm. This dude. Like, when he speaks, and I'm glad he's well-knowledged in whatever he is, I'm not saying it, but the way conservatives always speak, they always speak like they're on the person they love's dick a little bit too much, to the point where, they still got like slobber in the corner of their mouths. That's like the way, oh my God, Trump, he's really good. I really like him. Oh my God, like, he has the best penis. I don't know what Stormy Daniels was talking about. I sucked it 3 times. It's amazing. Like, he just has such a horrible way of expressing, his love for conservatives.
Which, there's a lot of debate about whether it was really the best thing to do, but that was definitely
And then he goes, right back into the conservative shit, giving a bunch of money to the HBCUs, the historically black colleges, right? Or universities. This motherfucker's like, well, there's debating about if it was the best thing to do. Why wasn't it? What's wrong with the HBCU, stupid? It's college, it's black college. Wouldn't that then essentially be like him supporting black lives?
A kiss of love to the black race.
Yeah, but that's not like, okay, I did say I agree. But I agree in the sense that Donald Trump doesn't literally want bad things to happen to black people, like I think a lot of conservatives do. So I think that he just says the most yeah, I do think that. I think he says the things that will get him elected. So I don't think that he has any personal grudges against certain, most people. He just says the most popular thing.
Trump is less of the issue and more so the people that support him, like Die Hard. They facilitate that kind of like hate, I think, for a lot of people, not just black people, but like.
I mean, this man took out like a full page in a newspaper calling for the public execution of 5 black kids. His hotels, all of his businesses have rampant history of denying black people apartments or whatever. So
I forgot about that. I should not have stepped forward.
Look, I mean, Donald Trump cares about Donald Trump. So I don't think he really cares about anyone, I guess, unless you're like super rich or whatever.
When you look at his history on racial issues, whether it's the shithole countries comment, the plethora of comments he made about Mexican people, just the comments he's made about Muslims, the idea that Trump cares at all about some particular racial minority, I think is a little bit silly. I think Trump will say whatever he needs to say to rile up his base and to get elected.
I don't necessarily think those statements come from a place of hatred. I don't think he was ever saying specifically, oh, if you pray 5 times.
Well, that's literally what Destiny said, is he was saying it. And that's also what Alec was saying. This dude is saying anything he wants to say to get elected. He's saying what's popular amongst conservatives. What did he say? I'm going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. And you idiots were like, yeah, make Mexico pay for it. Bitch, how? How? So then by that standard, Canada can build a wall because, I mean, if I was Canada, I wouldn't want trash from the South coming up to, my beautiful country. Then they can build a wall and make America pay for it by that standard, right? And I mean, and vice versa. If Mexico wanted to, they could build a wall and make America also pay for it, correct? The United States of America, my bad, because America's full of everyone. See? So then does that make any sense? No. Stupid. You fucking stupids. It doesn't make any sense. So he was saying everything he wanted to say to get elected. That's all that matters.
Towards the east or towards Mega, based on wherever you are, you're a bad person. I think he was saying if you like to fly planes into towers or behead people or throw people off of buildings, maybe you're not the most virtuous person out there.
He made the economy good. And so the economy then impacted black people, white people, Latino people. It impacted everybody. But Trump, he didn't think specifically, I don't think, about black people. He thought about himself, and he thought about how can I make America great for me? And making and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go with this guy. And the reason I'm gonna go with this guy is because if he can make America great and he can make that it rise for everybody, I'm gonna benefit from that. So that's why I went. And that's.
Oh my God. These people are fucking crazy. Imagine that. If a millionaire or a billionaire can make the country great for himself, then me as a poor person, a hardworking middle class person, he's gonna raise me too, right? Right?
How does that specifically benefit black people? Again, he's a businessman, but he's also a racist businessman, and like well documented so. So like
And Biden's not?
So I think I'm going to end it here, but 2 things. One, this is the type of conversations we do need to have because everyone has a different viewpoint. I did get a little in this video from me just editing it. I called them stupid all the times, and they're not stupid. You can't be stupid if you don't understand the other side. You know what I mean? And shame on me for doing so, but people get passionate. Humans are human. Other than that, I do think these type of conversations are needed. There's a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about more, but like I said, the video is getting very long. Like the reparations, there's not really much I add to it other than, do we need reparations? Absolutely. Is there a way to do it but that doesn't do the San Francisco way of like charging random ass people in order to pay black people? Yeah, I don't like that. So yeah, there needs to be some shit. Other than that, this video was pretty cool. I put the link to the actual video down in the description, also to the link of everything I use down in the description. Your boy, I ain't gonna fucking do an hour-long video. You got me messed up. But either or, tell me guys what you think. you know, if you've seen the actual videos, there are any topics or points you want to address, and just leave it all down in the comments below.